we argued that the only reason people admire bodybuilders who have built their body with muscle and not obese people who have built their body with eating huge amounts of food is because there's prejudice against fat people. And so bodybuilding could benefit from including the non-competitive display of fat bodies alongside muscular ones.
Wow. Yes, that's a real clip. No, it's not satire. And sure, yeah, let's put fat people on stage and worship them for not sacrificing anything and just showing how little self-control they have by shoving down high fructose corn syrup and seed oils down their gullet more than anyone else. Great idea. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name is Zukradowski here of wearechange.org, and there's just an absolute slurry of crazy news to get into today, as of course a lot of women are going absolutely crazy. This is, by the way, the main chief voting bloc for the Democratic political party that, of course, is empowered by single old white women that don't have any families. That's the reason the Biden administration is in charge and probably will be in charge for a very long time. Maybe we're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more. Lots of very troubling developments, especially unfolding in Ukraine. Lots of scary things to look out for. We're going to tell you exactly what in this video. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast was originally shared on TikTok from @Ultimate Motivation, and highlighting a real argument made in the United Kingdom on national television, pushing and trying to promote an unhealthy lifestyle as some kind of fat acceptance, promoting cardiovascular risk, heart disease, and the destruction of optimal health as something that should be cheered on and celebrated, and it shouldn't. If you're struggling with health issues, you shouldn't be promoted to have more health issues. But hey, we're living under a system that incentivizes this, since, of course, a lot of special interest groups profit off of people being unhealthy, depressed, sad, and weak, so they could be more easily conquerable, as, of course, we're being ruled more and more by autocrats who keep hiding more and more information away from the general public. This, as the Biden administration today, just as of a couple hours ago, decided to keep the remaining JFK assassination records sealed indefinitely, citing, once again, quote, national security issues. What kind of national security issues do we have 70 years from this particular event? What would we find out about that particular event that would endanger national security today? That's a question that I think a lot of people should be asking themselves, as, of course, there's a plethora of an extreme amount of circumstantial evidence highlighting that there was clear wrongdoing, lies, and cover-up by the government and establishment surrounding this entire incident, as there's a very high likelihood that it's probably the U.S. government and special interests that truly do control it, along with the intelligence agencies that took out the former president of the United States that was assassinated under very mysterious circumstances. Now, something strange is definitely going on here, since Congress passed a law that promised to release all federal and government records surrounding this event in 1992. All records were promised to be released no later than 2017 of October. The former president of the United States, Mr. Trump, said he's going to be releasing these documents, and then he never released them himself. And now Joe Biden indefinitely sealed them, which absolutely shows you that something very sinister is going on here that they're trying to keep away from the general public, as, of course, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew to JFK, who's running to be president of the United States, released this statement saying, quote, "It's not about conspiracy, it's about transparency. In a midnight Friday night announcement, the White House has delivered the bad news that President Biden will be maintaining secrecy indefinitely on some JFK assassination-related records." Adding on later, what are they hiding? And stating that public trust in government is, quote, at an all-time low, and he's absolutely right, as, of course, he also made very bold statements talking about how the deep state, the intelligence agencies in the United States, were responsible for the death of his father and his uncle, RFK and Bobby Kennedy Jr., who had their lives taken from them right before they were about to enact some major political change in the country. Now, what else is the intelligence agency empowered Biden administration doing? Well, they're also trying to block out the sun. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Biden administration is saying that it is open to plans that would block sunlight from hitting the surface of the earth, all in a way to make the weather gooder. Yes, you heard that correctly. This is originally, most importantly, a project that has been incentivized and started and financed by Bill Gates, and satirically highlighted in many commercials, TV shows, and movies where supervillains are literally doing the same thing. I don't think that's a coincidence, as a lot of Bill Gates' projects have been greenlit and promoted by the establishment of the Biden administration. Will they soon be trying to block out the sun? Well, with the way that things have been going, probably. As of course, Billy Boy usually gets his way, whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden in office. And one of the few people daring to call out that powerful individual is, of course, Joe Rogan and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that are starting some really interesting conversations, as RFK Jr. just retweeted this video of Joe Rogan and Ice Cube talking about him, which I think is worth listening to.
Get a good president in there, turn it around.
Yeah.
You don't think
I don't put a lot on the president.
Not
I
this
don't put a
one.
lot on the president,
Well,
for sure.
I wonder what would happen if Robert Kennedy Jr. got in there. Very interested to see what happens with that guy.
Yeah, he seemed like a guy who at least is down to deep dive
Yeah.
and talk real and really try to dissect what's really going on instead of just going with the herd, which would be easy for him to do, like go with the herd. By him going this route, it's like he's on a more noble route, and we just check him out and see how he navigates some of this stuff.
And it definitely has been a very interesting route for RFK Jr. that recently did take some very establishment positions when it came to addressing issues like welfare, affirmative action, and restricting Americans' ability to defend themselves and to have the proper tools in order to do that. Policies that, of course, deserved to be critiqued, as, of course, they don't serve any interest of the general public, just take away more rights and abilities and opportunities from them. And when criticizing it, I was met with people saying, no, he's just being a politician. And I think maybe that's the problem that's happening here and why we're in such of a mess of a situation. Another reason why we're in such a mess of a situation is because of the larger fifth generational warfare that's being committed against the American people in subconscious subliminal propaganda, essentially pushing a larger depopulation agenda, as Joe Rogan even came out on that same show and decided to call Dylan Mulvaney, quote, an attention-seeking hooah with clear mental health issues. And let's be honest here, especially in this day and age of social media, drama, attention-seeking, controversy, I think it's fair to say that individuals like Dylan Mulvaney have mastered this landscape, especially when it comes to everyone talking about them, as of course there has been a major backlash against the companies that have endorsed them, particularly Bud Light. That looks like it's doubling down and reeling at the same time from this endorsement. And as a society, I do believe we should have a larger conversation, especially when it comes to incentivizing, promoting, and talking about a lot of these individuals in the context that we do. And I will be talking about that later on today on LukeUnfiltered.com, where we are going to have a brand new spanking report available only for members right after this broadcast. But before even going there, we're going to continue the conversation surrounding Joe Rogan, especially with what he had to say about athletes in modern day sports. As I think it's fair to say that a lot of males have been absolutely chemically and biologically destroyed, and that's one reason out of many reasons why I just launched TakeTheChillPill.com, our own product that we have, that we produce, that we make, that we ship out to you when you get on TakeTheChillPill.com, as of course we just created our own line of ashwagandha pills, and we're going to be, of course, working on health and wellness from here on out, since of course this is a large topic of what we're talking about. This is where the battleground is at right now, as of course people's health is being robbed away from them, and things like ashwagandha that I personally take could help you start your health journey, especially if you are a male looking to help your testosterone, to help you deal with stress and cortisone levels. If you're looking to boost fertility, boost cognitive function, ashwagandha might be the right supplement for you, and it's something that I personally take, especially when I'm going through a very difficult time, and personally can't recommend it enough. If you haven't heard about ashwagandha, start doing your own research. Talk to your medical professionals to see if it's right for you. It's not right for everybody. Some medical professionals warn that you should only take it for 3 months. Andrew Huberman says you should only take it for 1 month. We have all that information plus a lot more on takethechillpill.com. And of course, by doing so, you also go towards supporting this independent media organization. And seriously, if you're dealing with issues with sleep, memory, anxiety, stress, athletic performance, menopause, you name it, ashwagandha might be right for you. So takethechillpill.com. Now, I think it's fair to say that a lot of people in Europe should also take the chill pill, especially in Ukraine and Russia, as there is a full-blown proxy war between the East and the West unfolding in that country that is absolutely horrendous and robbing a lot of innocent people of their life, liberty, and property. This, as it's important to note here, that this conflict is being deliberately prolonged here by a lot of Western powers, particularly the United States, that is investing and financing a lot of the military hardware and rebuilding efforts and contracts that will be going to BlackRock. I think it's fair to say that this is as much of as America's war as it is Ukraine's, as they have been making a lot of key strategic decisions here that have put us in this particular position where the Ukrainians are dealing with a very tough situation. Now, we're getting small tidbits on social media about the alleged successes of the Ukrainian military, and of course the corporate media keeps telling us that they're winning and they're going to absolutely destroy the Russians, and we've been hearing that for a very long time, but I think it's fair to say that this is a major stalemate of a situation that right now is seeing the needless life sacrifice of a lot of Ukrainians that are going against very hardened positions by the Russians that have entrenched themselves in Ukrainian territory, where the Ukrainians are losing a significant amount of men and hardware trying to, of course, repel back, giving us a totally different narrative than what we're hearing on the corporate media that's saying that Ukraine is having huge, tremendous victories. And of course, it's important to look at all of this from all different perspectives, as of course, there is a lot of evidence suggesting that that is absolutely not the case. And the inverse of that is probably a lot more likely here, as a lot of scholars are even talking about the, quote, overwhelming artillery advantage by the Russians, air superiority, and the huge advantage that the Russians have by having a lot more people than the Ukrainians. A very interesting assessment that we're getting from all of this is that Russian-based artillery is allegedly way better than Western NATO-backed artillery, which truly is creating the biggest difference here when it comes to this larger proxy war. Now, allegedly, according to some military analysts, the Russians are just waiting until the Ukrainians throw everything they can at the Russian walls that they have built by entrenching themselves there. And after the Ukrainians exhaust their resources, it is then when the Russians will start to advance on more Ukrainian territory and then potentially gain more of a significant victory in this proxy war, which would end by Russia decimating all of the Ukrainian military and NATO American hardware that was sent into that region. And there's a lot of hardware and a lot of photos and videos showing it being destroyed, either by the Air Force of the Russians or mines that they have set up all around the region that have essentially prevented a larger counteroffensive from being successful in any kind of way. What are the Ukrainians doing now? Well, they're attacking Russia's capital, Moscow, with at least 5 new drone attacks, one of them going after a major Russian airport, which disrupted domestic flights in that region. But with the Ukrainians facing a major loss here and them resorting to desperate attacks inside of Moscow, especially in civilian areas, we do have to wonder what's going to be the next steps for the Ukrainians here, as other online media commentators like Kim.com are talking about a potential false flag that could happen here that could be engineered, specifically surrounding the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which we're seeing some very interesting Western corporate media articles about. As of course, Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, that so far has called off elections in the country, is warning that there's a serious threat that the Russians are going to attack a nuclear power plant and create a nuclear disaster inside of that country. Zelensky even went as far as to talk about how Russian troops were moving vehicles that were filled with explosives onto the power plant, which was corrected by an individual that was even close to Zelensky himself. This is a news segment from France 24 that I think is worth looking at here when it comes to understanding what's happening here and the potential of a larger incident that could be made in a very desperate move by some very desperate people.
In Ukraine is saying, Vladimir Zelensky a few days ago said that according to his intelligence, Russia has made all the preparation for an attack on the plant, not an accident, an attack. His chief of military intelligence said that preparations are being done. Russian troops have moved vehicles charged with explosives into the plant. They've mined the cooling pond. You have a team on the ground. Is this what they're witnessing?
Well, I would never, enter into an argument with the president of Ukraine, whom I know very, very well and with whom I've been in contact regularly and meeting with him personally. What I can say is I was there. I did not see this kind of development. Our teams are there and they are reporting every day what's happening. I'm not privy to this intelligence report that you are referring to.
Right. So you don't think that there will be a Russian attack on the plant? It's not what you're seeing.
What I'm saying is that we don't see what you just said. In terms of the future, I wouldn't be so, adventurous into getting to, what is going to happen or not happen there. I think anything can happen. This is what worries me.
And in my opinion, especially when it comes to a nuclear power plant, especially when it comes to it being in Ukraine, especially with the Russians and Ukrainians being involved here, I think anything and everything is possible here. But for right now, the situation does not look good for Ukrainians. How desperate will they get? Well, that's a question that, of course, is going to be answered in the next coming few days, weeks, and months as this conflict is going to continue to escalate and more innocent people continue to lose their lives. And for what? As, of course, there were multiple times, there were multiple incidences where peace deals were done. They were met. They were agreed to. And then the United States came in and said, Suka hui blach niet. And now we have this continuation of this horrible situation that I think is leaving a lot of Ukrainians absolutely screwed. And that's tragic. That's sad, and that's just stupid to die for the political aspirations of politicians that don't give a damn about the people, the individuals, and the countries that they lay to waste for their own political gain. That, to me, is just absurd. And if you agree with that, share this video with your friends and family members. I got way more to say that I'm going to be saying on LukeUnfiltered.com right after this video. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys actively watching and sharing this video, and that's why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.